morning, everyone. I'm Terry McCauley, your service associate today. Leading us in the service today is Senior Minister Reverend Tim Barger. Our music is led by Tom Sheehan over on piano, and when it's time for centering music, Melissa Jeter. Our student minister seminarian will sing a cappella. Our story will be brought by Ginny Gottman, our Director of Lifelong Learning. Back in the media booth is our media team. Walter McGee is our producer-director. Andy Gottman is on cameras. Jeff Slauson is on our soundboard. And Isaac Van Hoy is back there learning the ropes. If you are new here, we are a church with no creed. We are only bound by a covenant. Later in the service, I'll invite you to coffee and conversation, which is one of the perks of attending the service on a regular basis in person. Also, this is annual meeting Sunday. Just after the service, but before coffee hour, we ask members to gather here in the sanctuary to honor our Unitarian Universalist fifth principle, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregation and in society at large. By voting on our congregation's budget for the coming year and a few leadership positions.
Hi, I'm Reverend Tim. Let me add to Terry's welcome, both to you here in the sanctuary and to our viewers on our YouTube Toledo Unitarians channel. In many Unitarian Universalist services, we light a chalice, a flame in a bowl that originated with the Unitarian Service Committee, using a lit chalice to indicate safe spaces in Europe during World War II. Shall we say the words for lighting our chalice together while Terry lights the chalice? The words will be on the screen. We are Unitarian Universalists with minds that think, hearts that love, and hands that are ready to serve. Together we care for our earth and work for friendship and peace in our world. And the electronic igniter did not ignite, apparently. So we're working old style with wood and sulfur, maybe? There we go, we have wood and sulfur. There is our chalice flame. And now Terry can lead us in reciting the covenant.
Let us proclaim our covenant together. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Today, on our minds, in our hearts, and with our spirits, we think of the ways of the world, the state of the nation, the serenity of our own souls. There are people in our circles who, with their family and friends, have challenges of life and death, health and illness, home and travel, financial security and monetary stress. Decisions are being made by ourselves and others on how we can live our best lives, which sometimes means aspiring to that and realizing we have moves yet to make to reach aims and goals. And individual and family ways go on with new lives born and many other joys and celebrations. We all have bad days and good. May kindness and gentleness be with us. May we be compassionate to all, so as we don't know what other people are going through. So treat one another well, giving dignity and compassion. And may we be glad for their celebrations and ours. We have on our minds, in our hearts, with our spirits, the fact that there is disaster by nature and disaster caused by humans. That inequality, inequity, and racism are in our societies, and we can do our own parts not to oppress, to celebrate many cultures, to grow in self and universally. Today is an important one for our church. Our congregation will use the democratic process so that we may continue to be a liberal religious beacon in Northwest Ohio. May we do this in right relation. One reason we join in religious gatherings is to realize common links. The uncommon is here too. Let's be together in faith, hope, and love, physically and in spirit. You might have your own items for meditation, contemplation, and prayer. So we include the unsaid here as we are in community. We can share burdens and be glad for accomplishments. And now we're proceeding in a different order for a few weeks because we have a hymn tournament. I invite our Director of Lifelong Learning, Jenny Gottman, to tell a story.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to ask all of my younger friends to come forward if they would like to and hear a story. Isaiah. Hello, awesome children. Can you sit right here with me? Yeah. All right, are we ready to hear a story? Amaya. All right. Once upon a time, there was a queen who ruled her queendom, and she and her advisor were sitting out on their balcony one day discussing matters of the kingdom. The queen was eating rice cakes with honey, and as she and the advisor discussed, the queen reached out and pointed into her kingdom, and as she did that, a drop of honey fell off of her rice cake. Her advisor said, "Your Highness, shouldn't we get that drop of honey?" The queen said, "No, somebody else will clean it up. It is not my problem." As they went on talking, the sun warmed them and warmed the drop of honey that was on the railing, and that drop of honey soon dripped right into the street with a plop. And the advisor said, "Oh dear, now the honey has fallen into the street. Shouldn't we call someone to clean that up?" And the queen said, "No, that honey is not my problem." Soon, flies started swarming the drop of honey, and the advisor said, "Your Majesty, now there are flies in the street. Shouldn't we call a servant to clean that honey up?" And the queen said, "No, that honey is not my problem." And then came a lizard to go after the flies. And then came a cat to go after the lizard. And then came a dog to go after the cat. And then came the owner of the cat to protect the cat. And then came the owner of the dog to protect the dog. And soon the owner of the cat had called her friends, and the owner of the dog had called in his friends, and soon all the citizens were fighting in the street. The soldiers walked by, and they saw the citizens fighting, and some of the soldiers were friends with one side, and some of the soldiers were friends with the other side, and soon the soldiers got involved in the fight as well. And then things really got bananas. People started throwing stones through windows and taking torches off the walls, and soon the queen and her advisor had to be rescued from the palace because the palace was on fire from within. As the queen sat and surveyed the ruins of her kingdom, she saw something glistening in the street. And she looked down and touched it and said, "Oh no, this is the honey that started the whole thing. I guess I probably should have cleaned up the honey to begin with, because now my kingdom is in ruins." And that was the last day that the queen said, "It is not my problem." All right, awesome children, we're going to do our hymn reading today. Are you ready for that? Everybody grab a sheet of paper. I think probably all of them have been written on, but that's okay. Everybody grab a sheet of paper and circle how much you like this hymn on a scale of 1 to 10, okay? And then give it to me when we get into the classroom, okay? Thank you.
So this is number 131, Love Will Guide Us. And now let's sing for the children, as this is the time when they and their teachers leave our service for religious education.
You know your mother will talk about you, your sisters and your brothers too. They don't care how you try to live. You know they talk about you still. Oh, but bear this in mind, a good friend is hard to find. Oh, don't you mind people grinning in your face? You know they grin in your face. You know they talk and down. Soon as your back is turned, you know they try and bring you down. Oh, but bear this in mind, a good friend is hard to find. Oh, don't you mind people grinning in your face? Oh, don't you mind people grinning in your face? Oh, bear this in mind, a good friend is hard to find. Oh, don't you mind people grinning in your face?
Thank you, Melissa. Please join me for our time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer. These are words by Kristen Green. May our minds and hearts be opened this morning so that the day is able to blossom and flourish in life-giving ways. May we view each other as partners, comrades, friends on the journey, headed in a direction together toward wholeness. May our voices be gentle and purpose-filled. May our energy create space for everyone. May our hands open to one another as help when needed. May our values shine through our decisions and our strivings be made clear through our discussions. May our lives speak of a shared future where we transform the world through acts of love and justice. Blessed be, may it be so. Amen. In meditation, contemplation, and prayer, let us observe 1 minute of silence.
Today's reading is I Want to Be with People, by Dana Worsnop. Often people say that they love coming to a place with so many like-minded people. I know just what they're getting at. I know that they aren't getting it quite right. I don't want to be with a bunch of people who think just like me. I want to be in a beloved community where I don't have to think like everyone else to be loved, to be eligible for salvation. I want to be with people who value compassion, justice, love, and truth. Though they have different thoughts, and opinions about all sorts of things, I want to be with independent-minded people of good heart. I want to be with people who have many names or no name at all for God. I want to be with people who see in me goodness and dignity, who also see my failings and foibles, and who still love me. I want to be with people who feel their interconnection with all existence and let it guide their footfalls upon the earth. I want to be with people who see life as a paradox and don't always rush to resolve it. I want to be with people who are willing to walk the tightrope that is life and who will hold my hand as I walk mine. I want to be with people who let church call them in a different way of being in the world. I want to be with people who support, encourage, and even challenge each other to higher and more ethical living. I want to be with people who inspire one another to follow the call of the Spirit. I want to be with people who covenant to be honest, engaged, and kind, who strive to keep their promises and hold me to the promises I make. I want to be with people who give of themselves, who share their hearts and minds and gifts. I want to be with people who know that human community is often warm and generous, sometimes challenging, almost always a grand adventure. In short, I want to be with people like you.
When I first envisioned today's talk a couple of months ago, knowing that this is annual meeting Sunday, the title I chose was Roll Call, and the intention was and is to recognize the contributions, energy, and work of our congregants, volunteers, and staff. I do that pretty much every year. I hope it doesn't feel routine. This time I wanted to highlight families that volunteer, married couples, siblings, multiple generations, and other ways of family being what you make it, but this year having a point of recognizing family. I hope you found that I frequently try to give individual appreciation, and there's a large number of people giving their time to First Unitarian who might live alone or be the only family member who comes to our church. But today I want to highlight togetherness and do so with the illustration of our families. I came up with a dozen family units, and I could name more, but in alphabetical order, here's the roll I call today. Sue Childers and Cindy Gilmore, Lauren and Thatcher Getz with Suzette, Jarvis and Marcia Gamble, Sandra Kozak Sills, Eric Sills, JJ and Louise Sills, Julia and Walter McGee, Joe and Joyce Moran, Dave and Judy Murray, Gretchen and Randy Ritchie, Eva, Jeff and Marna Slauson, Carol and Phil Teitelbaum, Carol and Tom Titus, and Jenny and Isaac Van Hoy. We follow the concept that families of choice are sometimes the best ones. So we value relationship however your family comes into being. There are families in past years who have also given greatly of time and talent and still do today but aren't on today's list. We love you all and thank you. And please know that not naming is not intended as a slight. We value the activity of volunteers, of staff, of people who do what seems like too much, of people making their first efforts at seeing what they might do to help First Unitarian thrive, and of you who are in the sanctuary or catching us on YouTube who don't otherwise have energy, ability, or time to give to the Toledo Unitarians today. For some of you, you've retired from active involvement. Others can't make the schedules fit. And we have people new to us who might want to be an active part here in body and soul, but could use guidance and encouragement from us. We like that volunteers work well and deserve time away, and giving a sacred no. We very much like that sometimes they come back. They're refreshed, they're ready to do it all again, and we affirm their being guides in their ways to newer people just becoming involved. I also want to honor the work of our staff. We have 5 people on First Unitarian's payroll right now, and I'm the only one who works full-time. You see our program staff regularly, Director of Lifelong Learning Jenny Gottman and Music Director Jeffrey Maxey, and I'm pretty sure they feel the love and gratitude that we have for their labor and creativity. That leaves our support staff. We have a brand new bookkeeper, whom I won't name because the business aspect intention is to keep the bookkeeper behind the scenes for our better financial responsibility. This bookkeeper has just replaced a very good bookkeeper with us the past year, who recently chose to dedicate her energies to another, in a way, more involved position she had alongside ours. We have much appreciation for her attention and help. That leaves our office manager as the final employee on the list. You might have heard some things as this has not been handled well, including by myself as the person who works closest with her, as her supervisor, as the chief of staff, and especially as her friend. She really doesn't like her name used in public, so all you'll hear is she. And I hope she'll see my intention as good. She has been our office manager for 10 years. She has done so much for us. She's the epitome of dedication. She has for several years worked multiple jobs in addition to this church position, but we were able to give her employment benefits of participation in health and retirement plans, which the church partially subsidized and she paid the rest. For someone building enough work in total through part-time jobs, one bringing benefits is essential. She did more for us than duties and job descriptions demand. Plus, she's genuinely friendly and nice. Well, she found a full-time job with benefits to come soon. She negotiated to make that job 35 hours a week instead of 40, so she could continue at First Unitarian 1 day a week in person and working mostly remotely the rest of the time, as she has done since the COVID-19 pandemic first came to visit us. I said I was willing to give it a try. And then it seems things really got messed up, with this coinciding with annual budget time. There's too much detail and a share of nuance to explain what's happened, so I can't give the full story. And again, I'm one person at fault here. Put briefly, the Board of Trustees chose, effective with the beginning of the new fiscal year on July 1st, to make the office manager position one that would be done in person only, in the office 3 days a week. That's to help First Unitarian return to being a physical place open regular hours. Well, I said things got really messed up. At points in fashioning and reacting to change, voices were raised on staff, in leadership, by church members, and even by me. And I'm sorry for, at times, being less pastoral and more reactive. Our office manager won't be able to work here in person on multiple days with her new employment. She didn't resign and hoped this would resolve another way, as did I. I want us to honor her decade of dedication and service to the Toledo Unitarians. Even though the employment separation is not happening as we might want, I ask that you please consider how we can show our appreciation and continuing welcome to her. I'm sad it happened this way. And for you who are visitors to First Unitarian today, sometimes inside church things have to be brought into open air in order for us to be able to live better with what's going on. So I appreciate your hanging in as well. May today's work of the congregation go well. May we all be kind and gentle. And may we move forward having learned again that we're human, we want to be better people, and we can honor those who have been among us and won't be for whatever reason. Remember that a church is built on relationships. Yes, we have bylaws and other guiding documents, and we are a nonprofit organization, but primarily we're a spiritual community. That includes, in the openness, breadth, and welcome of Unitarian Universalism, people who don't consider themselves spiritual at all, or maybe identify as having no faith, but still they have interest and comfort in being in our sacred and secular community. And being a creative association, we really can't reduce any aspects to treating this like only a business, including matters related to use a business term, personnel. Many of you hadn't come into our Toledo Unitarians circle when our members thought it necessary to create a behavioral covenant after a past rough experience. Though the behavioral covenant is posted on a few bulletin boards and in some rooms, We periodically need a reminder, really, to behave. In other words, to be conscious about living in community and in relationship, to meet our Unitarian Universalist aspirations of being part of an organization that builds and supports the world and the people in it by knowing and living the idea that, as a proposed denominational bylaw says, love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We all are human. We have bad times as well as good, as you heard me state when in today's service I spoke what is on our minds, in our hearts, with our spirits. So as we begin to come together after a time of anxiety and contention, we might consider how to rededicate ourselves to right relations. That includes me. Here is our behavioral covenant. We aspire to create a culture of trust grounded in our transcendent values of mutuality, diversity, spiritual growth, and grounded in our 7 principles and 6 sources. This behavioral covenant describes how we wish to be together as a congregation. In particular, we want everyone to be able to bring their authentic selves to church. We want everyone to be fully and deeply heard. We want everyone to feel that their experience is acknowledged and validated. We want everyone to feel safe enough to risk and to recognize that vulnerability is courage. We, as individuals and as a congregation, commit to the following practices and promises to make this our reality. We will listen deeply to one another with our full attention and the gift of time, seeking to understand before being understood. We will get to know one another by name and make an effort to learn and appreciate one another's stories and viewpoints. We will acknowledge our differences, both seen and yet to be discovered, and see them as a cause for celebration rather than a temptation to ask for conformity. We will risk being vulnerable so that we can learn to be courageous together. We will be kind and gentle with one another as we learn to be courageous together. We will be kind and gentle with one another as we learn to live out this covenant. We make these promises in service of our mission of fostering spiritual growth and compassionate action, and our vision of creating a vibrant spiritual community that achieves growth, visibility, and relevance. We do our best. That's the end of the covenant. We do our best when we are in collaboration and in community. We don't always get there, but we can aspire. Can we please do good today in right relationship? Thank you, bless you, and so be it.
It's offering time. And today, we're making a change. Ever since we came back to meeting in person after our time when we had only YouTube services during the height of the continuing COVID-19 pandemic, we have had a basket in the lobby for your donations. Today, we're starting again to pass the plate. The challenge is that we're going to try to do it without ushers. I'm sure you're all up to the challenge. One basket for each side of the aisle. You and the congregation, please pass the basket along. You might have to get up and take it to someone sitting a little bit distant from you, down the pew or in the pew behind you. So do a brief stretch in preparation if you need to. When the baskets reach the back of the sanctuary, one designated person will take them to the office. And if the basket misses you, don't worry. We still have one in the lobby, so you can leave your donations on the way to coffee hour. If you have cash and want that credited to your contribution, you might put it in an envelope that you can find in the pew racks and put your name on it. Or if you give a check, just note on the memo line if you want the funds directed toward your pledge or another purpose. There are other ways to give too. You can use either QR code shown on our screen. There we go. The other going to our website, or you can go to our website, uutoledo.org, click Give, and then Online Giving. Or you can mail a check to First Unitarian Church, 3205 Glendale Avenue, Toledo, Ohio 43614. As First Unitarian Church of Toledo is a self-supporting congregation, we are very grateful for your contributions.
It's the coming soon part of our service where we tell you what's on the calendar for next week. We give some announcements, and we also let you know what's up for right after the service. Join us for Spiritual Forum at 9:45 on Sunday, when we will continue our study of the film Long Strange Trip. This DVD series explores the history of Unitarian Universalism and Unitarians and Universalists, the thought and practice from the early liberal faith at the beginning of the Christian era to what we know today as Unitarian Universalism. Join us for a deep dive into our faith and philosophy. And then the Sunday service at 11 a.m. here in the sanctuary and on our YouTube channel. You might think that today is special as annual meeting Sunday, but next week is our flower ceremony, in which we celebrate the 101 years now tradition begun in Prague, Czechoslovakia by Reverend Norbert Chopik of everyone bringing a flower to church, letting them be together in a vase, and then we take a different one home to illustrate our being in community. So next Sunday, please bring a flower with you.
Today is annual meeting Sunday. The congregational gathering is scheduled for here in the sanctuary at noon, and we've tried to be a little bit briefer here to give you time for needs of biology before the meeting begins. Can we try for about 10 minutes and you can start signing in immediately in the lobby with Eva Slauson, our board secretary. This past Wednesday, a class in chair yoga began in Fellowship Hall. It continues for 6 more weeks, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Cost is $5 for one class or $25 for all classes. The final coming soon entry is for me to invite you to join us in Fellowship Hall after we finished our service and then our congregational responsibility of our annual meeting for coffee, conversation, and social time.
Paul?
We're taking a break from the Long Strange Trip DVD, and Ginny Gottman and I are doing a program called Hope Punk, the genre of radical optimism you've never heard of.
Hope Punk, the genre of radical optimism you've never heard of, instead of Long Strange Trip, and that will be led by Paul Kemner and Jenny Gottman. That is our corrected spiritual forum for next Sunday. Thank you, Paul. And now, as Terry extinguishes our chalice flame, please join me in reciting the words for us figuratively to send some Unitarian Universalist fire into the community. And after this, our postlude for congregational singing will be number 1057, Go Lift It Up. So, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.